For the second time today, it's time to go Ligier European Racing Series Racing, I should say, because after a really amazing race earlier on with so much happening, particularly in the closing stages, you had to stick with it, and those that had been doing so well, unfortunately the story was not so great towards the end, but it was a sparkling result nevertheless for the Greek duo that crossed the line in front, perhaps to their own surprise as well. Kolovos, Georgios and Kaitatsis, who joined forces in the 0-4 HB Racing by Monza Garage Ligier JS P4. They kept things on the straight and narrow and crucially had enough fuel in the car. I'm looking at Team Virage, who made a little bit of a hiccup in the earlier piece, and we'll talk more in depth about that in a moment or two. But a chance to look at the starting grid for the second race today here at Motorland Aragon, and it is Minea Stefan in the number 48 Team Virage car who will start from pole position alongside George King, who is leading by a decent margin in the closing stages. In the end, the 60 car, though, did not reach the finish of race 1 in Spain. HB Racing by Monza Garage, the earlier race winners, will start from third position alongside Jan Aguilera in the RLR Sport number 75. Then it is Chuting Xu in the Monza Garage number 11 and the number 1 Team Virage car of Kevin Madsen. Le Dusabs Steve Zakia in the 50 car with LR Motorsport Jacopo Mazza for company on the 4th row. And then it is a JS P4 and a JS2 R on the 5th row for Pegasus Racing, and the pole sitting Max Meyer in the repaired RLR M Sport car. ANS Motorsport come next. Julien Lemoine in the 42 ahead of the earlier race winner LR Motorsport's David Rodrigo, and Jordan Meyer together with Bastien Ostian complete the lineup in JS2R. My name's Johnny Palmer. I'm joined by Graham Goodwin, as I was earlier on as well. Thankfully, conditions have rather got a little cooler compared to earlier days this week. Much more pleasant racing conditions, although in the interval between this race and the earlier one we have had a bit of rainfall around about the lunch break, and there was concern, Graham, that this race may even start with rain still active, but it does look dry at the moment. It does. There's a bit of moisture in the air, but it's moisture in the air, not raindrops. Welcome back to Formula Bonkers, I think it's fair to say. It was a wild race, wasn't it, this morning, Johnny, with all sorts of storylines. Some great racing, some fantastic overtaking, and some incomprehensible incidents that needed a number of explanations after the race. Bumped into George King, who will start the race in the number 60 car from second position on the grid. Bumped into him after the race. Inconsolable. It was indeed a fueling error from the team that cost him what should have been a dominant win. And we had a conversation along the lines of where do you direct your aggression and anger? I think the answer is to winning this one. I think that would pay off beautifully. Deserved that win, I felt, that crew. They drove a brilliant race. But we're coming down now, Johnny, for the start of race 2. Could be very different. We are very late in the day. The leading car pulls sharp left to head into pit lane, and the pace will be dictated by Romanian driver Minea Stefan, who has won so many races this year but wasn't quite on it for the first race here at Aragon. He'll be looking to try and eliminate those mistakes where possible as the bomb burst now commences, and virtually from all the way from the left to the right hand side of the track it is flooded with Ligiers, whether in JS P4 or JS2Rs, and absolutely side by side for the race lead, but a lead change there which puts George King now in front of Minea Stefan, and Stefan under pressure in the early stages from Jan Aguilera in the number 75 RLR M Sport car, and also the one that's broken through is the number 4 of Panagiotis Kaitatsis. Yeah, great start from George King. He's channeling that anger from post the end of last race to this, but side by side there, coming through with Minea. Aggressive start, middle and finish to the race from Minea Stefan last time out, and going to be a bit more careful here. It's a team car, somehow a little more difficult to channel that aggression when you've got to meet the same guys under the same awning post-race. At times Minea Stefan showing he was a little bit too eager to claw back the form he'd lost a little early in the race. Settling down now with a 1-2 for the pair of cars from Team Virage, head of the HB Racing with Monza Garage car that took the race win this morning, and the RLR M Sport car via Aguilera. Kaitatsis into a clear third position, and the 0-4 getting very close indeed now to Miner Stefan as they slow for turn 14 on this opening lap. He wasn't quite close enough to the Romanian though as they left turn 15. George King, so comfortable out in front, actually choosing to weave a little bit to make sure he's got tyre temperature as he hits the brakes into turn 16, and a nice bit of grip to slow the pace. Through the speed traps, these cars are doing something in the region of 243 or 4 kilometres per hour. Diving down the inside there, number 50 car of Steve Zakia to pick off Kevin Madsen in a classic overtaking opportunity. We've seen that many times over in the earlier Ligier race this morning.
Yeah, chatting to a couple of the drivers between these two races, not just from the Ligier European Series, but the other series. It's a change for second place there. Race winners from this morning up into second and ahead of Miner Stefan, and also under pressure now from Mina Aguilera. So the 48 cars had a bit of a stumble, lost a bit of pace and momentum, and now at risk of losing third place.
So Panagiotis up into second position, and two cars very early on to the pit lane. Julien Le Mans and the ANS Motorsport car and the Pegasus racing machine. They've been fighting electrical problems on that car all day. It stopped, I think, 3 times in this morning's race for Jordan Meyer.
Do it briefly, yellow flags at turn 18, and that looks to me like the left front wheel of that car might have been pointing outwards. I wonder if those two have come together.
Yeah. And a quick stop then to try and sort that out, if indeed they can, in the middle of the race. Every car that you see at the moment will have to stop, I agree. Yeah, front left way out of alignment from where it should be. So that's a steering arm maybe, or a track rod that has snapped or buckled as a result. And it's exactly the same problem on the front right of the 29 car. So they got together maybe side by side at the hairpin it was, and it has sent both steering of the JS2 Rs completely out of alignment. So it's a front left on the 42, the front right on the 29. It tells tales of how they came together. And that incident is now under investigation. It won't help either of them, though. Significantly broken components there in the wheel arch. It won't help either of them. Currently stopped and going no further, I would guess, in the pit lane.
That's a hefty biff, isn't it? And game over, I think, probably for both of those cars at this point. So 4 minutes in, 2 down.
I know.
Not a great average.
It isn't. And although we struggled for the full complement in the earlier race, it was actually towards the end that we had retirements. I promised you a little more detail on what exactly had happened to the number 60 car of George King at the time that he shares with Bernardo Pinheiro. They simply ran out of fuel. Graham Goodwin posed the question, is it fuel at the time? And even though we had a safety car period for 3 or 2 laps, that should have helped fuel conservation, but in the end it didn't. And you dread to think, if that safety car hadn't been put out, how early they would have retired.
Well, I bumped into George King, who looked distraught on the phone, that indicated I was correct, but 2 seconds later, coming from between the team truck, came Julian Gerby, came straight over to me and said, it was our fault. Yeah. We're absolutely heartbroken. It was a genuine error, miscommunication, and really gutted for the drivers. And you know, Julian's a driver himself. He will have known what that would have meant to, let's face it, his 2 customers. At the moment, Stefan certainly very much in the groove, but well, if he's in the groove, I think in the trench further up the road, George King channeling his inner anger management counsellor. Away he goes.
2.7 seconds up the road from Panagiotis Kaitatsis, who now in turn is under pressure from Miner Stefan. Meanwhile, the LR Motorsport car looking for a line on the inside of the third Team Virage car. That's at turn 14, and a neat overtake in the end by Jacopo Mazza on Kevin Madsen.
Mazza going side by side with the next car in the train now. That is Chuting Zhao, isn't it? So 29 have not given up the ghost on this one, but it's going to be very late back in. Chunk taken out there at the brake disc.
Yeah. Again, shows you
that is a heck of an impact.
The severity of the impact itself. It was right on the wheel, clearly, which has taken a bite mark out of the brake disc, as Mazza does indeed make that move stick on Chuting Zhao, one of 2 Taiwanese drivers in the Monza Garage outfit this year, driving the number 11 car. And Jim Chu sharing with Rui Wang, who we will see later on. Still the move not quite done. It is now, though, as Matza turns left. And Jim Chu just struggles for traction coming out of the first corner, and that will provide Kevin Madsen with an opportunity to get back in front. One of those places back again. Absolutely. Of the Monza Garage car.
Yeah, losing momentum, trying to defend the place just a little too long. That's put him just out of his comfort zone and given an opportunity for the chasing car to take advantage.
JS2 R is led by Max Meyer, who in turn had his own dramas in the earlier race, is now down the inside, or almost down the inside, Minea Stefan on Panagiotis Kaitatsis. The Greek stays in front, hugging that white line on the outside of turn 10, and now turn 11.
We had two dominant leaders, didn't we, this morning, both of whom fell fortune to bizarre misfortune, fell victim rather than bizarre misfortune, and Max Meyer, in the same way as George King, will be looking to make amends for something absolutely not in their control.
Well, no, it was nothing to do with Max, it was nothing to do with the team either. And oh, very sideways and almost losing it, the 0-4 car of Kaitatsis in second position. But also going back to Max Meyer's number 10 car is not necessarily a problem in isolation. There are a few cars that have struggled with said failure this weekend, but a bizarre one for RLRM Sport. And whether as a result of the fluid that was pouring from the car, he went off on his own fluid, or was just shaken by the whole incident, we don't quite know. But they then lost the radio as well, so Max didn't actually know when he needed to pit and when the pit lane window was open. So came in about 30 seconds too early. In the end, it didn't matter because they had far bigger problems to sort out. The crucial thing is, though, the team were concerned it was an engine failure. The engine's absolutely fine, and it meant that he could take the start of this race as well.
To take the start of this race is absolutely driving away from the JS2 R field. 15 seconds to the good, Max Meyer. Meanwhile, George King, 4.3 seconds to the good, and with another fastest lap of the race. I think it's his third. 50 car, though, is in trouble. What's happened here?
So driving car 50 is Steve Zakia, and he's gone straight on at turn
Just pulled
1.
off. He's looking down at the dash. Something's gone there. They will be able to restart that. It's in the line of fire, albeit off the track. He will not be given long before we see a reaction to this.
That's true. So yellow flags being shown at this stage. The 50 car hasn't yet gone beyond turn 2. And those yellow flags being waved from the start line, in fact, to give everybody ample warning of a stricken car to drivers right on the exit of the first corner. 4 laps done for George King. The gap's just over 4 seconds over Greek driver and earlier winner, co-winner with HP Racing by Monza Garage, Kaitatsis, joined by Kolovos Georgios, who shared that race victory in the Monza Garage crew.
It's a safety car. It's going to be a safety car, and George King will be ruining that. As will, by the way, Max Meyer. His first 10 minutes of the race, they built up substantial leads in the race and in the class, respectively. And the safety car has been scrambled. That will be for recovery of the stricken number 50 car. So
the 4 and a bit seconds will evaporate instantaneously from George King back to Panagiotis Kaitatsis. And there is the reason Steve Zakia's car stranded on the exit of turn 1, and race direction have given him ample time to try and re-fire the car. There have been a number of issues with various teams actually throughout today. Many of these problems out of the team's control. Had a quick chat with those involved at Pegasus Racing, including Anthony Nara and Dmitry Enchelbert in the break, and it sounds like all 3 of their cars have been plagued with some electrical problems of late. Certainly the 29, which they're trying to diagnose. We're going back to diagnosis that we were talking about during the European Le Mans Series qualifying session, and the difficulty is finding exactly what's wrong with the car in the short time available.
That's the issue. Yeah. So any car coming through turn 1 on anything other than a correct path through on the racing surface, you risk an impact with the stricken number 50 car. So It's also, by the way, not in a place that you've got line of sight from the corner. That will be part of the reasoning behind calling a safety car rather than putting in some other kind of intervention, including local and wave yellows.
I do think the heat has been a factor this weekend, not necessarily today, but you can't discount the amount of testing or free practice sessions that these cars have had. 2 40-minute sessions in stifling heat, and that may well take the toll on the cars, but not until maybe the following day.
Well, it's been, to be blunt, it's been so hot that kind of heat issues aren't restricted to things happening to kit, caboodle and cars on track. They're sitting in 40+ degree heat with a hot wind as well.
Yeah.
So
even in the awning.
Absolutely. We absolutely have seen, not necessarily in this series, but in other parts of this package this weekend, heat-related issues. We've heard about stuff that was happening in testing here. Track temperatures, remember, well over 50 degrees over the last few days. Fuel vaporization issues, all sorts of issues affecting teams. You know, plastic parts melting.
Yep.
It's, yeah, not great.
Well, they're not designed to run in mid-40 degree heat, and as you say, even hotter than that at ground level. We're currently at 28 degrees Celsius, actually very comfortable air temperature, 36 on the track, and there's a very light wind as well.
But for the first time, safety car, by the way, is in this lap. It'll be a rapid safety car. For the first time this week, Johnny, we've been here since late Tuesday. That wind is a cooling breeze.
Yes.
It's not a hairdryer on a kind of global scale. It's actually quite pleasant to walk through the paddock.
Yeah, a refreshing breeze rather than one that makes you hotter, which many have been reporting this week.
I think it's be unlikely to find that you could be hotter than you actually are, Johnny.
Absolutely impossible. Team Virage lead Monza Garage, lead another Team Virage car, then RLRM Sport, LR Motorsport, and then the third Team Virage car, and that's possibly why they're first, second and third in the current championship, because they always have their cars towards the sharp end. We're going to go green again now after a short safety car, still slightly over 3/4 of an hour of this race, and 3/4 of it therefore still to go as they whip across the line, and it's George King looking to scamper away as early as he possibly can, but Panagiotis Kaitatsis has seen this happen once before and wants to stay in touch with the young British driver if at all possible, bolstered by that win earlier on today.
Seems to be doing so in the very early corners of this lap. If anything, he's the man making a little bit of progress in this train, getting away a little from Miguel Stefan, and with George King as they come up over the top here.
So they will round this tricky right-hander, which then leads into a much sharper stop at turn 7. 6 is pretty much flat, but you have to have got 5 right first of all, and 5 is sort of a double left-hander, and you mess up turn 4, then you're on completely the wrong line for turn 5. This is a momentum circuit in the middle portion of it, and you have to get each corner just about right to extract the best amount of the lowest amount of time from it. As now they slightly take the rise there through turn 11. Downhill approach to turn 12 now. Very dusty in the background, as you can see. Basically just sand heading past that huge stone wall that separates turn 7 from this turn 12, 13, 14 and 15 complex.
Down the hill they come, all of a sudden. Miguel Stefan back in the mix again. Sandwiched between the two of the 3 Virage cars, the 04. George King now beginning to just edge a gap out coming into the safety car. It was, what was it, 4.6 seconds?
Prior to the safety car, it was just about that. Yeah, here's Miguel Stefan stepping out of line on Kaitatsis, and Miguel Stefan has pulled off this overtake a few times already today. Neat and tidy that to bag him 2nd position.
So Virage 1-2 again.
So Stefan over the line, and he will be desperate to have done that so that he doesn't allow his teammate George King too far in front. Late as he dares on the brakes into turn 1. It's a tricky 90-degree left-hander that. Pretty much flat on the approach and heading out of there as well. But It's all about not lingering too long on the right-hand side of the circuit as you exit, because you have to be well over to the left for turns 2 and 3, uphill and more or less flat in one of these prototype cars. There's a lock-up from George King, I noticed, at the head of the order as well. That was at the hairpin, though, rather than the first corner.
You're right, by the way, he's pulled the overtake in that spot a number of times today, Stefan, but every other time, I think I'm right, he's gone to the outside.
Yeah. Not
to the inside, and that's been something that Virage have clearly looked at, because both their leading cars have done the same. This time, he takes the more conventional route, and that works too.
Indeed. I do like that turn 16 corner. It is one where you can approach from both the inside and outside route and still make the overtake work. You do need understanding from the car you're battling with, though. And the investigation of various things, including the start procedure, will be actually taking place now after the race. They don't have to worry, to the race officials, about the coming together between ANS Motorsport's Julien Le Mans and Jordan Meyer, because unfortunately both of those cars are now out of the race. Yep. Steve Zakier also a retirement.
Or is it? 42 is on the way out.
Well, OK, so that's an awful, really quick bit of repair work there from ANS Motorsport. Pegasus were working on their car as well.
Yep.
It's going to be laps down, so it won't get a very good result, but nevertheless,
the points on off here.
JS2R, indeed.
What's the opposite of a commentator's curse? Because you've just reintroduced a car into the race, Johnny, through the power of your mind.
What can I say? It's a commentator boost, perhaps. Yeah, and they, well, wanted to go against my very words, were frantically working away on the front of that car.
Don't let Johnny Palmer be right. They were
Certainly
saying,
not. No. That was definitely the appetite that they had in their minds to prove me wrong. Now, the danger is, has any of the other parts under that wheel arch been stressed? And, you know, is there a concern? Well, I suppose it's an ultimate way of testing the car, isn't it? With nothing really at stake now, apart from points for, if they finish where they are currently, they will still get 4th place points. So definitely worth having.
Absolutely. Through comes Max Meyer, and he's again opening up a substantial lead. 16 seconds, remember, before that safety car. Is almost 8 seconds now. And now we've got a battle for the lead, Johnny.
There, Stefan, with the pink door mirrors and those strikes within the splitter of the car. 48 down the inside of George King. And Minea Stefan and George King have battled long and hard all season. And this, again, will be a tad frustrating for the 23-year-old Englishman, because he had a lead and a win in the bag earlier on today. Now he's going to have to work incredibly hard to depose the Romanian who's just overtaken him. And that was a half spin for one of the Pegasus cars. 16. Rejoining, it's the 16 car of Yuki Tanaka. And that car, did it go off on its own? We'll find out that in a moment. Yeah, well, there was a car reasonably close, but no, not involved. So Yuki Tanaka sideways and off into the gravel. And did he avoid the barrier? Just about, I think.
Gave the class-leading JS2R of Max Meyer a bit of a moment there. He had to go off the circuit in avoidance, or to avoid any possibility of an incident. George King's not given this one up, and there's a battle behind, by the way, between Ian Aguilera, the 75 car, looking to see what he can do to get past race 1 winner. And right there with them now, also in the mix, Jacopo Mazza. So 3 cars in the battle for 3rd place at the moment.
That was a brief glimpse of Kevin Madsen as well, with the Team Virage colours, but the Stars and Stripes American flag as part of the engine cover design. 0-4 with at the wheel Panagiotis Kaitatsis, then Jan Aguilera, and tucked in behind it's Jacopo Mazza in the LR Motorsport number 7 car. LR Motorsport of Italy, with the Italian and Swiss driving combination. Mazza from Switzerland. He'll be handing over to Simone Riccitelli somewhere beyond the 27-minute marker. We're only 6.5 minutes away, in fact, from that pit lane window opening.
Aguilera looking inside, outside, whichever way he can get through to take the position from the 0-4 car. The 7 car sitting back a little at the moment, I feel, just waiting for this to sort its way out. Nose to tail, the 2 leaders ahead. You can see them just to the top of the shot. Aguilera just seems to be kind of pogo in between attack and defence George King, meanwhile, has not given up this race.
Measuring Minea Stefan's pace stride for stride, in fact forcing Minea into a little error there at turn 12. He ran a touch wide and over the curves, which cost him some time. George King is ready to pounce, and what's his exit out of turn 15 like? He was very much there with his teammate, although these are two separate entities. They're both run by Team Virage, but there's no team orders here, certainly not. And if George King can, by his own efforts, get back in front, Team Virage will applaud that, no doubt.
And there's traffic ahead with the 29 car, the 42 car, my apologies. Looks to the inside, can't make that work this time. It's defended by the race leader. They're going to catch the delayed JS2 R at turn 1. That could be interesting.
There's Jacopo Mazza in the orange, dark blue and black then of LR Motorsport. Just ahead of him, 75 of Jan Aguilera for RLRM Sport in their typical colours for this year, although it was a change of paint scheme. And massively on the defensive there was Aguilera. Will that cost him now, because Mazza is drawing alongside and around the outside of turns 2 and 3, makes the move stick tremendous. And that was all down to the pressure into turn 1. I was off the track briefly. There goes Panagiotis Kaitatsis to avoid the back marker, and Mazza doesn't want to waste any time here either. Remember, the 42's back in the race after being frantically repaired for that steering damage for Julien Le Mans.
Almost lost out again there. The number 7 car was forced to check up by the JS2R being exactly where he wanted to put his JS P4. But, it is honours even at the moment. That little exchange, though, has gone the way at the front of the race of Minea Stefan. Pulled out an advantage now of almost 2 seconds over George King.
There is Aguilera with the bright yellow helmet, the 16-year-old Mexican driver. Great spread of nationalities in this series as well, and have been for the last couple of years actually, showing how attractive it is to many corners of the world. So this was the overtake on Jacopo Mazza around the outside of Jan Aguilera, who had already been pushed, not literally, but metaphorically, shall we say, into the first corner, and that meant that he ran a touch wide coming out of turn 1 and wasn't able to apply the throttle quite as quickly as the driver of the LR Motorsport car, Mazza.
So that gap we saw as well, by the way, in that shot, the move again between the 7 and the 75, the gap was drawn out by George King being caught behind the 42 car just in the wrong place. Was forced to follow through turn 1 and turn 2. Rather than taking advantage and sticking with the 48 ahead.
Over the line go the Team Virage duo. Fainting to the middle of the track there was Panagiotis Kaitatsis, and this is an attack from the second Monza Garage car of Jim Chu on Kevin Magnussen. Jim down the inside line to bag the place in the number 11 car. Similar paint scheme, of course, to the 04. Here is the 04 heading up the hill through this technical early part of the lap as they reach turns 4 and 5. Careful not to run too far out wide there, because many cars have been pinged for track limits. The next right-hander is easily flat, but then you have to get the car over to the left-hand side of the track for this right-hander at the highest point of the circuit. So 3rd, 4th and 5th places right together. Kaitatsis, Mazza, Aguilera set to potentially change at any moment.
Yeah, ahead of them, George King has rallied himself. He's pulled a second back of what was almost a 2-second advantage eked out by Minea Stefan in traffic. So King fighting back and getting back onto terms. This trio still trying to sort out the minor placings at this stage. 34 minutes to go.
So they snake their way through turns 12 and 13. Here's a glimpse of the JS2 R race leader, Max Meyer, in thankfully a car that was perfectly able to take the start in the second race after real concerns from RLRM Sport that they may have lost an engine on this car, but everything was well after all. And the 17-year-old Spaniard, so racing at another home race for him. Remember Barcelona, he will have got some good support as well. Born in 2005, Max Meyer, from Alicante, so it's even warmer down there in the south, and has come out of a season of F4 Spanish competition last year, but into this first endurance season, in these GT-derived cars, we could be looking at a GT superstar of the future here.
Yep. Game on, by the way. Battles for the lead and for third place. And the 7 cars, a big wiggle. Manages to gather that one up. How? But off the track for both the 7 and the 04. Ian Aguilera. Watch this. Both mighty late, too late on a braking. Almost lost the car and would have hit the 04 without a doubt. Managed to keep the car on track.
He did.
The car on, at least
sort of on track.
Sort of on track.
Kept it out of the barrier and kept it away from one another, which is the crucial thing. Missed everything solid. But Aguilera now wanting to pounce whilst this opportunity has landed in his lap. Panagiotis Kaitatsis. Still Minea Stefan just about leading George King. But George and his presence really in the door mirrors of Minea Stefan might be sowing that seed of doubt into the Romanian's mind. He was a little wayward again, heading through the dipper there, around the corkscrew here at Motorland Aragon at turns 8 and 9. Just
applying the pressure, waiting for that minor error to become maybe a moderate error, and an opportunity in a gap that he can then exploit. Car 4, by the way.
Yes. Yep. Under investigation for alleged overtaking beyond the track limit. So that is Panagiotis Kaitatsis that we've been mentioning.
I think that was in traffic through past the 42.
Agreed. When, yeah, the 42 was, well, going at JS2 R speed and possibly struggling a touch. By the way, pit window is now open, and we've already got a stopper in the form of the 86 Le Dusab car of Bastien Ostiat. So Ostiat in, and he'll be handing over to Jacques Nicolet fairly shortly. But yes, the overtake, which was Lapri, but still counts as an overtake, spotted to be done beyond the track limits for Kaitatsis. There's a warning flag now going to Jacopo Mazza for the abuse of track limits, and that's going to be on the exit of turn 1, I reckon, when he overcooked the braking for the first corner.
I've just realised, by the way, who the driver was that passed me in the paddock at the previous round, wearing Michelin Racing GT overalls.
Oh, yes? That was a while ago.
Yes. It was Bastien Ostiat.
OK. So that all now fits together in your mind.
Yep.
As the 04 and the 75 are running in second and third, with Kaitatsis only an investigation about how that overtake was pulled off a little earlier on, but he's still under pressure from Aguilera, the young Mexican driver, who's had at least one season in the UK racing in Ginettas. And this is a sensible move actually from that now into prototype racing for Aguilera. Kevin Madsen for Team Virage staying out, but we've got plenty of other pit callers, including Minea Stefan, so it will mean that George King leads the race again, but because the Romanian he was battling with has made an early stop.
Yep, George King, 4.7 seconds to good at the moment, staying out from right on the tail of the race leader, after leading by, what, 6 seconds coming into that safety car for the recovery of the now retired number 50 Ligier JS P4 of Steve Zakia. So be interested to keep a keen eye on the pace of the race leader. Good lead between him and the now chasing pair, with the number 7 car having pitted as well. But aside from the pit callers, it's order restored, isn't it, for the moment? Things have calmed.
Very nearly misjudging his braking point there was Jan Aguilera. I wondered whether the Mexican may run into the rear then of the Greek run, or Greek piloted car run out of Monza in Italy, the 04 car, as is the sister machine number 11. So always that person on the shoulder, I suppose, of these drivers saying, go on, brake a little bit later into 16, but you're going to reach the limit at some stage and risk some contact. So half a car length and no more between those two cars as they work their way back up the hill. And here is George King in the number 60 car to come in from the race lead. Of course, he was second before his teammate at Team Virage, Minea Stefan, made his stop. And George King in the 60 car will be handing the car back again to Bernardo Pinheiro, who of course took part in the race this morning, did the start in fact. The regulations in the Ligier European Series dictate that so one driver, if you've got two, starts one race, the other starts the second one of the day.
Well, King did what he's there to do, brought the car back in good order and in the lead. Although that lead inherited marginally with the sister car pitting from just ahead of him, but he's held a comfortable 6-second gap, hadn't he, at one point, and comes back with the fastest lap of the first half of this race at least. In comes Max Meyer from the lead, a very comfortable lead indeed in JS2 R, something like 15 seconds.
It's going to be a drive-through penalty for Panagiotis Kaitatsis for that overtake on the lapped car, a slower car, but nevertheless it was outside of the boundary of the track. So drive-through to be served at roughly the same point where they're going to have to do their pit stop. They've only got 2 minutes to complete the pit stop, in fact, for the HP Racing by Monza garage car. So they might have to do the regular pit stop first.
Yep.
And then the first job of the replacement driver, who's Georgios Kolovos, would be to visit the pit lane again.
I don't think they've got an option.
No. Yeah, with the pit lane only open for maybe until 35 minutes, but even so, you don't want to be messing about too long. And here comes the 0-4, so we'll get our answer very, very shortly. So I believe it's a 7-minute pit window from 27 to 34 minutes. And here is where we get to find out.
That's got the body language of a car that's going to make its proper pit stop.
Looking
also
for his
in
team.
Aguilera to hand over the 75 car to 2022 JS2 R champion Aitam Caragiuli. Both the RR cars, one from each class on pit lane at the same time.
So it'll be Georgios Kolovos who will take that car over, and sadly a word in his ear to say, Georgios, when you've completed your first lap, we want you back in the pit lane, not to stop with us, to go from point to point. To take him about 27 seconds, I think, is a drive-through, but you are moving, so you're not actually spending that full time as a delay.
And after those pit stops, it is the 60 that gets back to the lead. 3 seconds to the good Bernardo Pinheiro, which they will inherit the lead because the car's ahead of the roll on pit road. Menea Stefan is 2 seconds back from the Portuguese driver.
So time spent on pit road for Menea Stefan, it was a 2:21. It was a 2:18 for the George King / Bernardo Pinheiro car. So yes, 3 seconds gained there, and that would certainly explain the switch around.
That's enough.
I mean, George only trailed Menea Stefan by tenths of seconds, so 3 is huge to be gaining during the pit stop. And they both should have been in there for the same minimum pit stop reference time, because George King, Bernardo Pinheiro, both silvers. Menea Stefan is a silver, so it's considered a silver stop, which is longer than if you run with 2 bronzes or with a bronze and a silver. And the pit window is now closed, so I was right, 34 minutes. Thank goodness the 0-4 did get in time. It hasn't yet rejoined the motor race, but should, when it does, have Georgios Kolovos at the wheel of it.
Indeed, and indeed joins as you speak.
Now that will be a quick stop because they're both bronzes, the Greek drivers. So even more of a statement, I suppose, for their race win earlier on. As a double bronze combo, taking an outright win was quite some story early this morning. And they will have gained ground. It was a 1 minute 50 pit stop. So that's 20-odd seconds, give or take, that has been... sorry, 40 seconds. No, hang on a minute.
Just
20, 10... 30 seconds it is.
Just
been a long day.
Where people have emerged after this pit window closes. I think we've got the #1 car, Lance Fenton, in the lead. We do. So it's still a Virage car, but it's neither of the two that were in lead contention coming into the pit window. That comes courtesy, of course, of that pit stop penalty, or rather the pit stop, what do you call it, tariff. For the grading of drivers. 2 bronzes as well, I think, in the #1 car. 5 seconds to the good, and the all-Greek crewed winner from this morning, the #4 car from HP Racing by Monza Garage, Georgios Kolovos aboard that car. Bernardo Pinheiro is a further 7 seconds back in the number 60 car, so it's not inherited the lead. It is third. So now there's a chase.
Yeah, and I was actually misreading those times because, as you say, Lance Fenton is the new race leader. It was that car, the number 1, that did a 1:50 pit stop. It was a 2:02 for the 2 bronzes in car number 04. Now, presumably, if the 1:50 is a legal stop, the Greek duo in the Monza garage car could also have only spent 1:50 in the pit stop. So has there been major time lost there to the tune of 12 seconds? We'll have to wait and see. Absolutely nose to tail again for Team Virage, but they're in the different order this time around. So it's Bernardo Pinheiro who just about heads Minea Stefan. Stefan's been finding speed with every session this weekend. He did really quite struggle this morning and got out of his rhythm, got pretty frustrated with a spin, and then really spun the tyres to try and rejoin in a hurry. This seems to be a more neat and tidy approach, and he just feints to the outside line of Bernardo Pinheiro's Team Virage car. No way through there, though.
Also, by the way, due to be down pit lane and must do so pretty quickly is a second place car. The number 4 still has not taken the drive-through penalty for the overtake beyond track limits.
That's right, and they must be done in separate visits to pit road. So you cannot do a normal pit stop and then also sort of tag a bit of extra time onto that and say, well, we sort of did our drive-through as well. It's got to be an entirely separate visit. Down the inside for Minea Stefan into the dipper and gets the move done. That's very similar to what there was a similar move to in one of the Pegasus racing cars earlier on today. Julien Schell pulling off a cracking move from memory into that part of the circuit, and once again Minea Stefan showing he's got ultimate confidence on the brakes in one of these JS P4s. And
this, by the way, is the lead gap and trouble for the 16 car. Another spin there, but the lead for JS2 R with Max Meyer trying to offset. It was just clip the curb.
Yeah, on the inside. And I was heaping praise on Julien Schell for an overtake he pulled off in race 1. Well, that's the commentator's curse properly returning, I'm afraid, Julien, because a spin for you this time around. Also a change in JS2R as David Rodrigo battles with Max Meyer, and Meyer is now back in front in the RLR M Sport car. That
comes courtesy, by the way, again for a pit stop tariff, and it's around 30 seconds the difference in the pit stops between these two. So good recovery from that from Max Meyer. It's been a disappointing day so far, but this looks like it's getting better for the RLR M Sport guy. Number 10 car back into the lead. Solo driver this weekend, as we said in race 1, with Simon Butler on ecclesiastical duties.
It was a good result, actually, unfortunately, with Max Meyer going into retirement, but that rather opened the door in JS2R for Julien Le Mans for the final classification this weekend at Aragon.
Simone Riccitelli looking very racy indeed, by the way, in 5th, just behind Bernardo Pinheiro. So it's a double task, triple task for Pinheiro. Up the inside, looks Riccitelli can't do it there. It's catch and pass, his teammate again. Catch and pass the two cars on their pit stop tariff ahead of him and defend from a charging Simone Riccitelli. They are catching the two cars, by the way, that did well up those pit stops by having the lower pit stop tariff. At the moment, the racist of the lot is the number 7 car. Top 5 separated by just under 8 seconds right now, and we've got 20 minutes to go.
I've just dug out the final classification of this morning's race, actually, and there has been a change of result for the JS2Rs.
They switched it back, yeah.
David Rodrigo finished, I thought, on the ahead of the 42 A&S Motorsport car. That's the way I read it anyway when I went for my exploration around the paddock. But subsequently, the 43 of Rodrigo was given a effectively drive-through penalty converted into 30 seconds, which put the 42 back in front. So A&S Motorsport not had a good run so far today with the damaged steering for Julien Le Mans, but did win the earlier race today on amended result.
I feel we may have lost the 16 car. Julien Schell has pitted that car, climbed out and stalked away. I think it's done.
Yeah.
So another of the JS P4s leaves the scene for the remainder of this race.
After a violent spin, and whether that has done damage to the car, we'll have to wait and see. We're still waiting for car 4 to come down pit road. It's there now, actually, to serve its drive-through penalty for Georgios Kolovos.
So we've now got Team Virage 1, 2, 3. Not the first time we've seen that this season. Well, we've not seen it at the end of a race, though, have we? We have seen that running order more than once. Yes.
And actually, are they in the right order? No, they're not. For the championship, the order in the championship, they're 1, 2, 3 there as well, but it's 48, leads 60, leads 1. The way they run at the moment is car 1 ahead of 48 and 60. And there are, in places, significant points gaps between the top two, certainly. 108 points for Michelin Stefan, plays the 72 for the 60 duo of Bernardo Pinheiro and George King. That's now working their way through turn 11 and down the hill. The race leader is within sight of Michelin Stefan and the 60 of Bernardo Pinheiro. Pinheiro under massive pressure, though, from the 4th place car being driven by Simone Riccitelli. We've got just under 18 minutes of this to continue to enjoy.
Yeah, and trouble there for the 43 car. Was in close contention with the race leader. Have not dropped away this time. Is that just an outbreaking moment?
Frustratingly for David Rodrigo, he just set his best middle sector of the race so far, slowing into turn 16, and a huge lock-up, but not a spin. And Rodrigo finished second earlier on. It's looking likely that he will do the same again. Jacques Nicolet is at a safe distance despite that moment in the number 86 Le R JS2 R.
Lance Fenton in the lead of the race, being reeled in by Michelin Stefan and by this pair behind. Can he hang on for the win? Can he, beyond that, hang on for a podium overall?
Very close again. Under braking between Pinheiro and Riccitelli. Haytham Caragiuli wanting to be part of this battle, but he's got about 11 or so seconds to try and find. And a further 5 back now to Ray Yu Wang in the second of the Monza Garage cars. As down through the gears into turns 4 and 5 will go the battling 3rd and 4th place cars. And Riccitelli trying every trick in the book, side by side up ahead as well. Now, was that Fenton and Stefan side by side? It was for the race lead, and Michelin Stefan has picked off Lance Fenton to retake his position that he had prior to the pit stop. Still a real nuisance in the mirrors for Bernardo Pinheiro is Simone Riccitelli for LR.
Yeah, and the 60 car manages to get through the complex this time, but it's a good run through here by Riccitelli. Not quite room to do it there. But there's no rest here whatsoever for Pinheiro, and he'll be frustrated by that. He'll want to get on with the task he'd rather be pursuing, which is the task of trying to get back to the race leader. He's got the other team car in between him and the 60 car now, and the 48 car rather. But the more urgent problem is Riccitelli goes at the inside, and there's a bit of a biff at the end of that off the apex. It was relatively clean, though, Johnny, to that point. Yeah. The corner was his.
It was. Riccitelli was sort of almost through, and he's within his rights to run out wide on the exit of the corner. So, actually escaping any further drama was Bernardo Pinheiro. So we'll see what's done about that, but Riccitelli had made a clean overtake up until that point, and in fairness, Pinheiro gave him racing room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Nip and tuck that, but it was the LR Motorsports corner after the initial overtake had been made. And now LR Motorsport looking, certainly trying to get into second position, because Lance Fenton is being caught by the 2 of these cars, the 7 and the 60. So there could yet be a change for second place, as Pinheiro also clearly wants to try and make the podium as well, but he'll have to try and get ahead of Lance Fenton in just under 15 minutes time.
Lance Fenton is an AM-class car in the JS P4 category and is a comfortable leader of that class. The next nearest is the 7th placed car, the car number 4, that has had that drive-through penalty, dropped it out of second place. 27 seconds off the lead, and what is it, 23 seconds back from Lance Fenton. Now Riccitelli looks to get onto terms with the American, tries to the outside, now goes through the inside and makes it stick. In fact, the 60 car will follow through. Fenton just lets them go, sticks with the programme in class. In comes the 17 car, the other Pegasus Racing car. This must be trouble.
It has to be, because it's well outside of the pit window. Dimitri Engelbert had a nice chat with him and his teammate Anthony Nara in the break between the two races. Still big smiles on their faces despite the horrible luck towards the end of this morning's race, where they ended up not being classified. They think because of an electrical problem right over the gravel there, and that's at turn 14 for Simone Riccitelli, who, after pulling off the overtake on Lance Fenton, has now rather overcooked the approach. Was he actually trying to challenge?
No, there's nobody ahead of him.
He was already in second, wasn't he?
He's already in second, so it was a miscue. That's going to sound horrible,
just
all the government world, and I think this is going to allow the 60 car the opportunity to go around the outside. Yeah. Is it?
Well, can he get the car stopped, because the tyres will be absolutely covered in dust.
He's off again.
No grip whatsoever because of that run through the very, very dry gravel. And he just completely misjudged that right-hander at turn 14.
Way too hot. He's very lucky to get away with that.
If it had gone in sideways and dug in, that car could have very easily rolled as well, because you're going at such high speed, and those at virage want to draw the other mechanics' attention to the screens and exactly what has happened, because the 60 car's back in front of Simone Riccitelli in the hands of Bernardo Pinheiro. Get the feeling Pinheiro may have a bit of local knowledge, although he's from Portugal, but it's not a million miles away from Aragon, although he wouldn't like to walk it.
There could be further woes as well for the LR Motorsport car, with that car under investigation for an unsafe rejoin.
From the off-track incident.
Came back at speed.
Indeed, and with the car spewing dirt and gravel stones as well, so you have to be cautious when you come back onto the road. He will argue, well, I couldn't slow things down in the dirt, but nevertheless there is an angle that you can come back onto the track in a safe manner. And he was desperate to try and actually protect the position he thought he may lose, I suppose.
There's also a note here that says incident involving cars 7 and 60 at turn 15 noted. I don't think the 60 was in any way involved in that. It's passed him back, by the way. He's now through back into second place. Turn 15 is where he went off.
Yeah, but turn 15 is also where the hip and shoulder happened, when the overtake was more or less completed by Simone Riccitelli many laps before that, and there was contact on the exit of the corner. And we said, well, if Pinheiro wants to put himself there, then you're edged out onto the curb. But that message has been there for a little while. It's been noted. I think it'll go no further, actually. It's not under investigation. There's now a warning for car 4 for the abuse of track limits, though, as well, which is the Greek-driven Georgios Kolovos in this instant. Number 04 car has down the inside there Riccitelli. So
no, Riccitelli was already in that position.
Already in position, so he's just still defending from the 60 car of Simone Riccitelli.
Absolutely right.
Of Bernardo Pinheiro, I should say.
So Pinheiro still in this fight. By the way, gone up the road is Manea Stefan. 8 seconds to the good now. And without drama, what am I saying? 10 minutes to go. Looks to have this one wrapped up. But then so did George King in race 1.
Knowing the Ligier European Series, there is time in 10 minutes for a season's worth of drama from another championship, I have to say, because, and I mean that in the most positive sense, it's been such entertainment all year. Very clean driving standards on the whole, and just a delight to observe what might happen next. Still championships to be decided, with plenty of racing still to go.
This is where the lead changed hands again.
The second place battle.
So, apologies, the second place battle. And that again, I suspect, was Bernardo Pinheiro, just a little bit thrown by where he should deal with the traffic. And fortune favours the brave, and in that case, Riccitelli was certainly brave. So black and white flag for car 7 for causing a collision. So that will be that incident.
Yeah.
With the 60 car, so assessing blame, but no further action than a final warning, effectively.
So a collision that, in race directions minds, could have been avoided. I would go with that.
However, it is about the demeanour and the behaviour of the driver on track, and that happened before the off-track moment.
True.
And the unsafe rejoin that's still under investigation, so that can come into play for the number 7 car. Trouble for the 42 car.
And that is the rejoining Julien Le Mans, so he was already laps down for ANS Motorsport. Did win the race earlier today, though, but that's not a nice place to be sitting.
No.
On the outside of the tight hairpin at turn 16.
That's got potential for intervention.
Now, with an 8.3 second advantage, that's really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons if it is a safety car, because Minea Stefan, with 8 and a bit minutes still to go, will have the pressure on, possibly for something like a 2 or 3 lap dash to the finish, and he'll have to try and keep behind him Simone Riccitelli and Bernardo Pinheiro if those gaps completely close up because of a safety car. I mean,
that's the problem.
A yellow flag
Massive
at T1.
Double yellows at the moment.
Turn 1 as well. We heard a screech of tyres.
The problem with the positioning of Julien Le Mans is that it's a classic outbraking area, turn 16, and we've seen on several occasions cars running wide. The issue at turn 1 has now rectified itself. Yellow flags withdrawn there. However, if Julien Le Mans cannot move from that position, it's got to have to be a safety car, I would think, in order to temper the field and allow marshals to recover the car. The incident involving cars 7 and 60, no further action after looking at it. So is that the contact?
Safety car.
It is a safety car, as I suspected, as I feared for Minea Stefan, who hasn't won a race so far today, but he has won several already this year and was looking to rack up another success in 2023. He was victorious on 2 separate occasions in Barcelona, and then moving forward to last time out at Le Castellet, again a double winner. This year, at this meeting though at Aragon, has proven to be a little troublesome for the Romanian driver, and a huge gap is going to disappear in one instance.
Well, the one thing he's got going for him, we said this, didn't we, in safety car period halfway through the race this morning, is he has got traffic between him and the pursuing JS P4. So there are 2 cars. It's Fried Ali in the... Is it not? It's lapped. Yeah, lapped 14 into European competition.
All
JS
cars
P4.
has to close the gaps.
And
All cars
the
has to
JS2 R
close the
leader
gap.
between the overall race leader and the 2nd and 3rd place battle.
So gaps need to be closed is the message from race control. A little bit wide, very wide there for Max Meyer under a safety car. He needs to be a bit careful about that. Trying to keep pace with those around him. Still leading JS2 R from David Rodrigo for LR Motorsport, and Jacques Nicolet in the 3rd place of the JS2 R cars. 2 of those top 3 runners are in fact from the AM class as well, so they're having a cracking race to this point. Meanwhile, the line behind the safety car continues to grow. It's been a race of attrition, this, unfortunately, and the 42 car a few moments ago,
I think that's drive.
not at full speed at all, and yet maybe it is a drivetrain related problem. Just looking underneath the car there briefly, but it couldn't make it all the way around turn 16.
Have to close the gaps.
There's a flashing light at the rear of that car. Couldn't see the light, could see the reflection of the light in the bodywork.
Yeah.
So that car is going to be rapidly behind the barrier. Well done, the marshals. So we will get back to green flag racing with around 4.5 minutes remaining.
Simone Riccitelli and Bernardo Pinheiro needed to be a little bit careful when Le Mans first came to a halt, because for me they were still side by side, and that would have been under yellow flags, not allowed. Even though you don't completely overtake, it's still considered overtaking. Nothing on the screen suggesting that's going to be looked at, which is obviously good news. And by the sounds of things, the Riccitelli-Pinheiro contact on the exit of turn 15 is now NFA, no further action.
Cars have to close the gaps now.
So they're wanting, clearly, to go for a restart as quickly as possible. Heading now through turn 11. So you've got the left-hander at 12, the right-hander at 13, then the same sequence of corners effectively in the mirror image, 14, 15. 15 being the tightest of those 4 corners. And then at some point towards the end of the long straight that feeds into the hairpin at the anti-penultimate corner, the lights, I reckon, this time around will be extinguished on the safety car, and we'll be racing again for 2 laps for Minea Stefan, Simone Riccitelli, Bernardo Pinheiro. Haytham Caragiuli's right up there now as well in the 75 RLR M Sport car. So what can he do? Maybe make the podium in the closing stages. The safety car picks up the speed, allows Minea Stefan now to dictate the pace of everybody else. You can disregard the number 14 car of Farid Ali. He is not on the lead lap. So you've got the yellow and orange Team Virage car with the pink door mirrors that leads the motor race, and then a couple of cars back is Simone Riccitelli in second place in the dark blue and orange car of LR Motorsport. Right behind him in third place, Bernardo Pinheiro, and then it's Haytham Caragiuli in the white, black and orange car.
Well, he will not have a better chance for a podium finish at this stage of a race, will he? The opportunity there to just try to get the jump on the cars ahead of him. He's not managed to match their pace yet. Still learning this downforce car, Haytham. Dominant season last year in JS2 R. You call the restart.
Right, so we've got just over a lap time left on the clock, so we'll have this one and one more. And now to the inside, here comes Bernardo Pinheiro trying to hustle his way up the inside of the 7 of Simone Riccitelli, but there was no way through there. Now we look to Haytham Caragiuli. Is he close enough to capitalise on a semi-mistake? Not really. He's looking actually to clear the sister car in the JS2R division, first of all, which is Max Meyer, and now Haytham Caragiuli is able to squeeze ahead. But Caragiuli with company 2, Ray Yu Wang in the Monza Garage colours, the white, blue and red there, turning left at turn 5. Busy at the restart, it was always going to be because of some of those lapped cars as well, confusing matters. Farid Ali's car trying to stay out of the way as much as possible so as not to interrupt the flow.
Well, keep an eye, by the way, on the AM class as well. It is the battle for 6th place overall because Lance Fenton having a mighty lead. That's gone to nothing, with Georgios Kolovos right in his world tracks as well. So could the Americans lose a class win with a death?
Yeah, it all feels like it's up for grabs at the moment. 2 Monza Garage cars finding one another on track as the 04 of Georgios Kolovos there is looking to dive in front of Ray Yu Wang.
Well, the one car has got ahead of the Taiwanese crewed car.
Yes.
So that's a good move from Lance Fenton to just put a car between him and his rival, so it's a cracking restart from the number 1 Virage car.
Agreed. So there's the number 1 of Lance Fenton. Then the 11 car of Ray Yu Wang.
Not an AM class car. It's the white, red, the white, red and blue rather than the white, blue and red car, if you see what I mean. The one with the more red highlights that you can see in the rear of the picture there. This is for position overall, but it's not for class position. The rival there is the 04.
And up the inside will go Wang, then on Lance Fenton to complete the overtake. Lance desperately trying to defend into turn 16, but couldn't quite hold back the Taiwanese driver. The other thing to look out for in the background is the scrap for JS2R honours. Max Meyer and David Rodrigo earlier winning on the road, but deposed to second position after a post-race 30-second penalty. So that put Rodrigo down to second position. It's looking like it will be second again for the Italian driver for LR Motorsport as Farid Ali now runs off the road. There's smoke pouring from the rear left of that car as well.
This is the last lap.
Yeah, that's either an engine problem or perhaps a wheel hub failure, maybe a wheel bearing that is creating all of that smoke. Well, we talked about grabbing brakes, didn't we, earlier on in the ELMS session as well. All manner of things could well have gone wrong on some of these cars. And again, is it all related to the earlier heat this week and these cars sitting in 40-degree temperatures for many, many days? Briefly yellow flags. In fact, they're back now at turn 1 because of Farid Ali's moment. Very close indeed for that fight then for 6th and 7th. And here's the race leader, Minea Stefan, turning left at turn 12.
Indeed, he is well ahead here. Not going to be troubled on pace. Just has to complete the last few corners and that long, long straight to take the win. Minea Stefan. Bernardo Pinheiro too far back as well on pace to trouble. But this is the battle for Am, and this is well on, and it's a change on the final lap between the 0-4 and the number 1 car. Has Lance Fenton got an answer for this?
Fenton wants to try and stay as close as possible to Georgios Kolovos then in the wheel tracks, but Kolovos is desperate to try and break the flow, break the toe indeed, by zigzagging his way down that long straight. Minea Stefan didn't win the race earlier on today, having taken 4 victories already this season, but he will make it 5 in the second running here at Aragon. Congratulations to the Romanian driver, winning by 3.5 seconds over Simone Riccitelli for LR Motorsport. And now Lance Fenton is off the road. Now please tell me that that's a part of a collision which nearly cleans out the number 10 Max Meyer JS2 R race winner as well. We're waiting to see the RLR M Sport colours to head across the line. This is the result they desperately wanted early this morning. Well, they do at least get 1 race victory with Max Meyer and his solo drive. But what on earth happened between Lance Fenton and possibly Georgios Kolovos in the closing stages, which really did pose Max Meyer a problem, having to take avoiding action.
Davide Rodrigo, by the way, comes home 3rd, so something's happened to that car. That was 2nd in the closing stages.
So as he and Lance Fenton got together, no, why would Rodrigo be just ahead of Max Meyer?
No, so Jacques Nicolet will bring home the 86 Les Desarabes car with a 2nd place.
Excellent result. So there's Lance Fenton in the number 1 car, and lost it all on his own, in fact. Just trying to apply the power slightly earlier than the Michelin tyres wanted.
It was the rejoin here that was a heart-in-the-mouth moment. He lost the car again, and then the 10 car was going through at the point at which that will be a dangerous rejoin, I'm afraid. But desperate moments for the man that comfortably led Am until that safety car.
Yeah, and so some expressions down at RLR M Sport, the sharp intake of breath for those involved with both the number 75, Haytham Karagiuli, who didn't quite make the podium in JS P4, and Max Meyer in his number 10, JS2 R, who definitely made the podium, in fact the top step of it. So a great drive in the end, having come back from adversity in the earlier session when something fairly significant on the car failed and he went off basically on his own fluids, but that wasn't engine oil, it wasn't coolant, something entirely separate. But they've got a race win now, and RLR M Sport will head back to Lancashire. Very pleased, I'm sure.
And JS P4, increasingly, these little JS P4s, boy, they race well.
They do. Well, I think all the cars in Ligier are just, so well suited to close battling. You've got the baby prototypes in the form of JS P4s and the JS2Rs, which really do provide a great platform if you want to go on into GT racing. There's no actual street or road going counterpart to the JS2R, but they are very similar to a two-seater GT sports car. And the knowledge you build up during a season of this could be very, very useful in the future.
They've got all the attributes, haven't they, that you need to be a bouncer in a pub in the north of England. They can take a punch, and they've got to be quick on the feet. It's great. It's great racing again. Some clean overtakes, some drama, some late race drama, and again there'll be some stories of what might have been after that late race safety car rather ruined it for some of the runners. But there's the overall order, Johnny Palmer.
And all of the Team Virage cars got to the finish in this one as well. 27 laps we had, with a bit of safety car along the way. And Minea Stefan takes his 5th race victory of the season ahead of Simone Riccitelli and Jacopo Mazza for LR Motorsport. Bernardo Pinheiro and George King take 15 points for the championship in the number 60 car ahead of Haytham Karagiuli and Jan Aguilera for RLR M Sport. Ruiyu Wang and Chuting Xu, Jim Chu, to his mates for Monza Garage in 5th, ahead of the 2 Greek drivers who finished as winners earlier on, Kolovos and Kaitatsis, Lance Fenton and Kevin Madsen. Fenton with that late race spin, you will remember. Thankfully, he did rejoin, though, and for 7th position. The top 3 podium finishers in JS2R are together on your screen there. Max Meyer in the number 10, Jacques Nicolet and Sebastian Ostian in the number 86, ahead of David Rodrigo in the number 43 car. And with Rookie Land in the background, that's been popular all weekend. we will draw to a close our action in the Ligier European Series for this weekend at Motorland Aragon. We've got about a month to wait until heat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the season. 2 more heats to go, 4 races in total, and it'll be to Belgium and that little microclimate of weather at Spa-Francorchamps to look forward to next, the 23rd of September. My thanks to Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com. From Johnny Palmer, it's bye-bye for now.
cita en Aragón, en Motorland Aragón de la Ligier European Series 2023. Estos son los top 3 equipos en esta segunda carrera. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the prize giving ceremony of the second race of this Aragon round of the 2023 Ligier European Series. These are the top 3 teams in this race. We start with the JS P4 class. Empezamos con la categoría JS P4, tercera posición, third place para el Team Virage, Bernardo Piñeiro y George King. La segunda posición en la carrera para el equipo LR Motorsport, second place in the race for the LR Motorsport team, Simone Riccitelli y Jacopo Mazza. Terceros en la primera carrera, segundos en esta segunda manga, el equipo LR Motorsport y ganadores. Ganador en este caso de la segunda carrera por el Team Virage and race winner in the second race, racing for the Team Virage, Minea Stefan. Sexto en la primera carrera, ganador en esta segunda, también se une al podio el representante del equipo ganador del Team Virage. Por favor, representante del Team Virage, please, the representative of the winning team, Team Virage, please join the riders on the podium. Please, the team representative. Yes, okay, thank you. And now, honoring the winning team, the national anthem of Poland en honor del equipo ganador, el himno nacional de Polonia. Put your hands together, big applause, gran aplauso para el Team Virage, para el LR Motorsport y Team Virage, primero y tercero doblete del Team Virage. Enhorabuena. Now please, drivers, take your trophies, the photograph, the official photograph goes first, then the champion. Okay, so this is the podium of the second race with Team Virage and Minea Stefan. Race winner, LR Motorsport, second place with Simone Riccitelli and Jacopo Mazza, and Team Virage, third place with Bernardo Piñeiro and George King. And now time to honor the winners in the amateur, the M class. Before announcing the winner in the M class, the official photograph on the podium with the top 3 teams in this second race. Congratulations, felicidades para el Team Virage, Minea Stefan, que sale como líder de esta Ligier European Series en categoría JS P4 de aquí de Motorland Aragón. Simone Riccitelli y Jacopo Mazza, segunda posición, 2 podios este fin de semana aquí en Motorland. Y el Team Virage de Bernardo Piñeiro, George King, segunda posición en la general del campeonato. Y ahora sí, momento para proclamar al ganadores en categoría AM de esta categoría JS P4. Now time to announce the winners in the AM class of this JS P4 category. Let's welcome on the podium the drivers for the HP Racing by Monza Garage, Georgios Kolobos and Panagiotis Kaitatsis. Ganadores en categoría amateur de esta segunda carrera de la categoría JSP4 del equipo HP Racing by Monza Garage, los griegos Georgios Kolobos y Panagiotis Kaitatsis. Please take your trophies. Please, drivers, take your trophies. An official photograph. Big applause, put your hands together. Gran aplauso para los ganadores en la categoría AM, categoría amateur en esta carrera segunda de las Ligier European Series JS P4. Felicidades para Georgios Kolobos y Panagiotis Kaitatsis. Y vamos a continuación con la ceremonia de entrega de premios de la categoría JS2 R de estas Ligier European Series aquí en Motorland Aragón. La clasificación de esta segunda carrera con un español que va a subir a lo más alto del podio. Vamos a desvelar quiénes han sido los 3 primeros equipos en esta segunda carrera, en esta categoría JS2R. So now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the prize giving ceremony of the second race of this Aragon round of the 2023 Ligier European Series in the JS2 R class. These are the top 3 teams in this class, in this JS2 R class. Tercera posición para el equipo LR Motorsport. Third place for the LR Motorsport team, David Rodrigo. Ladies and gentlemen, the new series leader, David Rodrigo. First place in the first race, third place in the second race. La segunda posición, second place for the team Le Desarbre, Jacques Nicolet, Bastien Ostian. Is the second podium in a row for this team. Third place in the first race, second place in the second race, Jacques Nicolet and Bastien Ostian. Second place in this second race. Y los ganadores, and ladies and gentlemen, the race winner in this second race, racing for the RLR ELMS Pure team from Spain, Max Maya. En español, Max Maya. Primera victoria de la temporada para el piloto español. First race win of the season for Max Maya. And now we also welcome on the podium the winning team representative. The representative for the winning team, RLR ELMS Sport. Winning team, the team of Max Maya. And now, honoring the winning team, ahora para honrar el ganador en categoría de equipos, el equipo ganador, el himno nacional de Gran Bretaña. Now, honoring the winning team, the national anthem of the United Kingdom. Gran aplauso, big applause for RLR ELMS Sport, Max Maya, race winner. Second place, Les Desarbre. Third place, LR Motorsport. Please, the official photograph before the champagne spray, antes del cava de la celebración. La fotografía oficial, official photograph with all drivers on top of the podium. There you are, Max Maya, Jacques Nicolet, Bastien Ostian, David Rodrigo. And yeah, now the champagne spray, now time for celebration. Let's see who's the fastest to open the bottle. There you are, David Rodrigo was the fastest one. Congratulations to Max Maya, first race win of the season for the Spanish driver. Jacques Nicolet and Bastien Ostian racing for Le Desarbre, second place. David Rodrigo racing for LR Motorsport, third place. Congratulations, this is the podium of the second race of the JS2 R class in the Ligier European Series 2023. Now we will ask once again David Rodrigo to climb onto the podium. He's the winner of the amateur class in this JS2 R class. So back on the podium, David Rodrigo. Recibimos de nuevo en el podio al ganador de la categoría AM de esta carrera. The winner in the AM class of this race. Again, on top of the podium, David Rodrigo, LR Motorsport. David Rodrigo, winner in the amateur class. Ganador en categoría amateur, David Rodrigo. Segunda victoria de categoría de clase amateur para David Rodrigo. Ya lo hizo en la primera. Obviamente fue el ganador absoluto también en la primera carrera. El italiano repite como ganador la categoría amateur, aunque ha sido, recordemos, tercero en esta segunda carrera. Pero es el nuevo líder, is the new championship leader, David Rodrigo. Aquí acaba la ceremonia de podio con la... entregaremos el trofeo a los primeros clasificados en categoría amateur de la categoría JS2R. Suben al podio el equipo Le Sabre, Jacques Nicolé y Bastien Ostian. Ahí están los ganadores en categoría amateur. El equipo Le Sabre, Jacques Nicolé, Bastien Ostian. Enhorabuena, felicidades. Ahí están los dos, la fotografía de los ganadores en la categoría amateur de esta clasificación de la JS2R, Jacques Nicolé y Bastien Ostian. Ceremonia de premios que finaliza en este momento. Enhorabuena. Felicitación para los que han conseguido subir al podio las dos carreras de esta primera visita de la Ligier European Series al circuito de Motorland Aragon. Victorias de carrera, recordemos, en categoría JS2R para David Rodrigo y para Max Mayer. En la categoría JS P4, las victorias que han sido en la primera carrera para Georgios Kolobos y Panagiotis Kaitatsis, y en la segunda carrera, como hemos visto hace unos instantes, subir al podio a Minea Stefan, el líder de la categoría. Líderes en categoría JS P4, Minea Stefan en categoría JS2R, liderato para David Rodrigo.